Good morning. It is Monday. Haven't done a live in a little bit, mostly because things have been kind of crazy. A lot going on in our household. So summertime, it's normal crazy. I don't know what everybody else's schedules look like in the summer, but I sort of feel like everything's a little more haphazard. We don't have the set routines that we normally do. And, really that kind of trickles down to everything. So figuring out how to navigate changes in your routine can sometimes be challenging across the board. And, truthfully, as a mom, my kids are always coming first. So sometimes that puts me towards the back burner, especially when things get a little wonky. So anyway, all kinds of entertainment, right? Just dropped my youngest off at school. He's got one more week of summer school before the end of the summer term, and then he'll have a few weeks off before school starts again. Same with my oldest. He's had the full summer off. I know he's enjoyed it, which is good. And just trying to keep things a little more low-key until we have to get back into it. So anyway, was planning out a little bit what I wanted to talk about today. I've wanted to do kind of a basic macronutrient talk. The essence is that calories are not all equal. And I know that there's a lot of push to eat a certain amount of calories or not eat too many calories. And I feel like calories have gotten too much attention. And that's because just not all calories are equal. You can have, sorry, I'm changing lanes here. You can have a 1,600 calorie diet and eat 1,600 calories of fat. Okay, so you're just picking away at butter or coconut oil or whatever. Okay, we can even make it healthy. Make it avocado oil or olive oil. It doesn't matter. Okay, it's still the healthy oils. Okay, but 1,600 calories of pure fat will still make you malnourished. Okay, because your body has to take those fats and turn them into carbohydrates. Your body has to take those fats and turn them into proteins. And FYI, your body cannot make all the proteins. You have to consume. There are a certain number of amino acids that your body cannot make. So if you don't consume them, you will actually get malnourished. So you have to eat a certain amount of proteins. And same thing goes for fat. You have to eat so much fat. You have to eat so many carbs. Low carb diets long term can be very hard on your organs, your kidneys, your thyroid, especially for women. It can upset hormones. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing low carb for a brief period of time to kind of kickstart things, especially if you're someone who's got a pretty nasty sweet tooth. But long term, it's not going to hold out. So you need each of those things. Those are your macronutrients, your carbs, your fats, your proteins. Now there's micronutrients, and that's when we start talking about vitamins and minerals and cofactors, and you start talking about all of that, which is fine, and those are all important, but most of those things can be achieved through a appropriately balanced whole food nutrition diet. So we have to eat so many carbs, you have to eat so many fats, and you have to eat so many proteins. Now, how do you know where to start with this? So the standard, I usually say protein needs to be about the same across the board. Okay, you need roughly a gram of protein per ideal body weight. So if your body, say you're a 5'4" female and your ideal body weight is about 115 to 120 pounds, you need to be eating 115 to 120 grams of protein a day. Okay, so that's a lot of protein, and I find that, and I actually eat more than that because I'm 5'9", but most women are not protein eaters, okay? This is something I go round circle with patients all the time. How much protein are you getting? How much protein are you getting? How much protein are you getting? And they're not, okay? They go, well, I eat beans, I get some protein from my yogurt and my cheese, and okay, that's fine, but you're not really getting a lot, okay? And you need to be aware of what you're consuming to make sure that you're getting enough. So that means that you need to be tracking, okay? Now, we have a tracker with the program that I work with. I think it's pretty cool. It works really well. It does a lot of neat things that our program does specifically to help optimize fat loss for our clients. But, you don't need a fancy tracker. There's a million things on the internet. There's a whole bunch of options on your phone. Lots of apps. The standard is honestly MyFitnessPal, and you can download it for free. Okay, so there's no cost. You have to deal with the ads, but big deal. Okay, so you can figure out, hey, I need to eat X number of grams of protein a day. Okay, so, and we can talk about how to set up MyFitnessPal and everything, but that's a little more detailed than really probably what's appropriate for live. But you need to have 1 gram of protein per a pound of ideal body weight. So now, if that means that you're a 5'4" female and you really weigh 150 pounds, now I don't know if that's a muscular level for you or not. Maybe your ideal body weight is 120 pounds. Well, then you still only need 120 grams of protein, okay? You don't want to overeat either. So there's a balance to be had. Now, in terms of adding in carbs and fats, I usually say fill in the remainder with 40% carbs and the rest fats, roughly. You need to have a certain amount of carbs a day. You need to have so many grams of fat. You may find that your body does better with a little higher fat, a little lower carb, or vice versa even. Some people do better with a little higher carb, a little lower fat. We really harness carb cycling in the program that I'm part of, simply because we find that it keeps our metabolism on its toes. So there's nothing wrong with even varying it from day to day. It will help kind of give you that metabolic flexibility that keeps things rolling. So, but you need to keep the protein stable. Proteins need to be consistent day to day to day, especially if you are exercising. If you are doing any kind of strength training, if you are doing any kind of regular activity, if you're not getting that routine protein intake, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get tired. Your body is going to say, I am in starvation mode. I am overworking beyond what my body is receiving for nutrition, and I need less. I need to eat enough. So, all right. That's the protein spiel. I preach protein. Okay. Fill in the blanks with the carbs and the fats. You can vary them, figure out what works best for you. I don't agree necessarily with a long-term low-carb diet, but I personally eat maybe a little lower carb compared to what some other people do, okay? So I have some hormone imbalances that respond really nicely to a slightly different balance of carbs and fats. So my carbs are about 30 to 35% on a regular macro day. And then they are much lower on a low carb day. So, but even that, I'm still consuming probably 100, I think it's like 160 grams of carbs a day. So it's not a low carb. So you need to find what works best for you, okay? But the protein needs to be stable. So those are our macros, your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. So when people say, hey, what are your macros? That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about, how many calories are you eating a day? I probably eat somewhere between 1,900 to 2,000 calories a day. That's my average. My body likes that. It responds to that. It allows me to build muscle. Depending on what your fitness goals are, you may have periods of time where you eat where you have some lower macronutrient days where maybe you drop your total your total macros, and it ends up being your caloric intake by 25%, so that you can kind of put a little deficit into it if you're trying to do a little cutting. But even that you can't do long term. You know, you have to have periods of time where you fuel to balance that out, to keep your metabolism rolling. So it's important that you're fueling your body the way it needs to be fueled. If you need some help figuring out what your macros look like, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help you figure that out, and give you some guidance on how to figure out what's the best way to make that occur for you. It's not rocket science. It's just not. It's not that challenging. But I feel like it works so much better than telling someone, hey, just eat X number of calories a day. Of what? Okay. Of, you know, all fat. I mean, you're not going to eat 1,600 calories of French fries a day and lose weight. I'm sorry. That's not going to work. Okay. And, you know, maybe you can eat 1,600 calories of chicken a day, but heaven knows that gets boring, and you don't need that much protein. You do need some healthy fats, and you need those carbs to balance your hormones. Your hormones are made from fats and carbs. Okay. So you can't just exist on one macronutrient alone. All right. You've got to have the balance. You've got to find it. And sometimes it takes a little time. You know, we do talk about the art of medicine. And that's because it's an art. It's a practice. It's not an exact algorithm as much as people want to make it out to be. It takes time to learn how to do it. It takes time to get experience. And the same is true with nutrition. You know, everybody who's a 5'4" female, even if they have the same potential ideal body weight, does not mean that they all have to respond the same way to the same macronutrient combination. So we need to figure out what works best for you. Your hormonal milieu may require a little higher carb. Maybe you're someone who has some thyroid imbalances, and you really do need to make sure you're hitting those carbs every day so that your body feels supported to help reduce those stress hormones. So there's a little bit of a finesse to it, and it sometimes takes some time to tease out, and that's okay. All right. There's no magic wands. You've just got to put in the effort. So, all right. Enough excitement for the day. I hope everyone has a fantastic Monday. Stay out of trouble.